Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
What's up?
We're looking at the new teaser for House of the Dragon. For the longest time, I was actually calling this House of Dragons.
Me too.
So I guess I got that wrong collectively. Anyway, this is from HBO Max's YouTube channel. You guys, thanks so much for joining us. Please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, and pretty please vote this up to let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching, if you are. So let's jump into this. Here we go.
Oh, that signature silver hair.
What is this brief, mortal life, if not the pursuit of legacy?
I, Rickon Stark.
I, Corlys Velaryon.
I, Ormond Baratheon.
Promise to be faithful
to King Viserys
and to his named heir,
Princess Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra Targaryen.
Men would sooner put the realm to the torch than see a woman ascend the Iron Throne.
We play an ugly game. You have the determination to win it.
History does not remember blood. It remembers names.
Choose your plan.
Ooh, all right. I feel like I need to go back and just do a refresher on the history of Game of Thrones because the names are very familiar. I'm like, wait, which king was that again? Viserys? What did he do? Is he the Mad King? Is he not the Mad King? Anyway, so I feel like I have to go back and like maybe refresh a little bit or not, or just wait to see what they tell us with this show. I think it's really interesting because Game of Thrones itself is just so rich, not just the Game of Thrones that we've already read and watched.
Right there, Father Aerys II is the Mad King.
Okay, yeah, so he's not the Mad King, it's Viserys that we're checking out. Like,
Okay.
I thought that it wasn't. I thought that it was someone else, so I was on the right track anyway. But I think that the stories are so rich in themselves, and I'm not just talking about what we've already seen and read, but like all of the backstory, which is what they're going to be exploring in this show. I'm cautiously optimistic because I'm hoping that this new show is kind of going to give us the same excitement and vibe that we got from the first several series of Game of Thrones before season 8.
I would argue before season 6.
Yeah. Just like the earlier ones where it was just like, oh my god, like all of the political intrigue, the drama, the shocking deaths, like who can we trust? That's all the stuff that is just so interesting about the franchise. And I hope that this is what they're gonna have more of in this show rather than the hot mess that season 8 was.
I have one more little bit of data here. So someone asked on Google, is Aegon Targaryen the Mad King? It says after Jaehaerys' I can't read that name. Can you do it?
I think it's Jaehaerys.
Jaehaerys' death, his son the Mad King took over as the last Targaryen king. It's even before.
Okay, so he's the great-grandfather of Rhaegar, Viserys. Viserys, who's Daenerys' brother, was named after Viserys, who's this king.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
It gets confusing because of lineage and stuff.
Right.
So I'm sure that the show will make it all clear.
I mean, that's the cool thing about Game of Thrones that I found both daunting and interesting is just the volume of history that's there.
Yeah.
It's like when you get into the show, there's already like hundreds of years being spoken about of history before the show starts, or before the book starts, I should say.
Which is just so fascinating, right? Because it's a piece of fiction and yet it's all based on stuff which makes it seem real because there's like a whole, like you say, centuries of history before this story even starts. And so it's just so fascinating to kind of get into that, kind of in the same way as when you read Lord of the Rings. You know, there's a lot of history.
It's rich with characters and events that the characters in the story that we're like reading or watching in the, you know, the actual Game of Thrones series, that reference throughout.
Yeah.
You know, sorry, I have been up since 4 a.m., so words are a little bit more of an effort right now. The thing I find most fascinating about this is that the Game of Thrones book series isn't even complete yet. And we have this prequel show coming to HBO Max. That's just like not really relevant to the show itself that we are observing here, the teaser, but it's just fascinating to me that this is going on.
Yeah, I wonder as well how much George R.R. Martin is involved in the process, like the story and everything like that, because I think I would feel a lot more confident if I knew that he was quite heavily involved in this. The first several seasons of Game of Thrones was just so good because it had the books to draw upon. But then once it started going a whole different direction, it was like, ooh, what's going on? This doesn't feel right.
So it says development in November 2018, George R.R. Martin stated that a potential spin-off series would be solidly based on material in Fire and Blood.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that his?
I have not read that.
By September 2019, Game of Thrones prequel series from Martin and Ryan J. Condal that tracks the beginning of the end of House Targaryen was close to receiving a pilot order from HBO. So it is his.
Yeah, okay,
You know?
that's cool. That gives me a little bit of reassurance there that it's going to be good. Because it looks interesting. I was really enjoying Matt Smith in the teaser there. He has such an interesting face, and he was giving all of those like kind of suspect, slightly, you know, what the hell is this guy thinking looks that I'm really enjoying. Like he's so good at those kind of looks, and so he's also a really great actor. So I'm quite excited to see what he brings to this show.
I got really burned by season 8. And to be honest with you, like I found myself in terms of my interest in Game of Thrones, I found it waning, especially in the latter seasons. I was like, do I still even really like this, or am I just keeping up with it because of the zeitgeist, because of the conversation going on?
Being a completionist.
Yeah, I mean, there's that aspect as well, but I found that for me, my excitement for Game of Thrones peaked after Jon Snow beat up Ramsay Bolton. Like, when he was going off on him, I was watching that by myself in the living room, and I literally leapt out of my couch cheering, and that was about where it peaked for me. After that, like, my interest really began to wane hard, and I didn't know why I was watching anymore other than, well, where is this going? Everyone else is talking about it.
Right.
And so when season 8 hit and it was really bad, it didn't hit me quite as hard, because I was like, there's no way that it's gonna be like Lost. Like, there's just no way that this can pay off the way everyone's built up this excitement for themselves. With this, I'm like, all right, I'm cautiously optimistic. So like kind of like
Yeah.
what you said. I don't really have any expectations. It's more of, I'll check it out. That's where I'm at emotionally.
I think I'm just really curious to see how they handle the history, because this is all, you know, the beginning of the end of the House of Targaryen, which was like the greatest house in that world, right? I'm curious to see how they portray the characters that we've heard talk about, being talked about in passing, and kind of more of the world building. Because like I so enjoyed the world of Game of Thrones, because it's fantasy and yet the strategy and the political intrigue and people like double crossing each other and the surprises and stuff like that. It feels like real life, you know, like it could happen, because no one's safe.
Yeah.
You know, from season 1 when Ned Stark gets beheaded, you're like, well, shit, they killed off the main character. How could they? And so, yeah, I'm just kind of hoping for more of that.
So I just double checked something for my own reference, because I wanted to know if Warner Brothers owns HBO Max. And it says here, Warner Media owns HBO,
Yeah.
and as well as a series of other companies, including Warner Brothers. So it's all tied together. All this to say, I really, really hope HBO or Warner Brothers learns their lesson, because this is like Fantastic Beasts for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You know, and so Fantastic Beasts is not universally loved by Harry Potter fans. It's kind of divisive because they're not great movies. They're just not. None of them are fantastic. Like, they don't live up to the name, right? I'm hoping it doesn't make the same mistakes that Fantastic Beasts made. I'm hoping it like surpasses Game of Thrones, if anything, which like I'm imagining that's hard to do, because you know you had that material out there for a while that the writers of Game of Thrones were able to base their material off of. But this is based off of, it seems like this is taking a sliver of George R.R. Martin's material and expanding it into an entire show, which is essentially what Fantastic Beasts did. It took this little book and made 5 movies out of it.
If I recall, I think I did see the book like in a Target or something, and I don't think it was tiny. I don't think George R.R. Martin does tiny. He only does
Okay, I'm just saying, but it's like
Yeah.
it's one book though.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And presumably this will go on for several seasons.
Who knows?
This is going to go on. No. This is going to go on for seasons. They're looking to make their money. That's the thing about this. And I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. I get it. Business-wise, good on you. You're out to make your money, right? Like, because whatever IPs you can leverage in order to keep people paying your subscription fees every month, I
Yeah.
totally get it. I just want it to be done well.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Like, I'm really holding out hope that this is going to be done well. But like I said at the beginning, I'm cautiously optimistic because I was kind of burned.
Before we retread the same ground in this conversation, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Subscribe if you haven't already, please. Bell icon, all notifications, and vote this up. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.